What's going on, you guys? This is LJJ1 of the PS4, and I'm going to be giving you guys another Marvel's Avengers video. So with this video I'm going to be giving you guys I'm actually going to be talking about the AI companions, on basically what AI companions is really good to have in a team, and which ones that don't really benefit the team as much. Now, with that being said, every AI companion is actually really nice to have, but obviously you can only have up to 3 other AI companions to help you with your missions. And also, this is really going to depend on your gameplay style as well. But the thing is, AI companions have like some sort of set programming to them to perform in a certain way. Whereas if you have other actual players play as your companions or teammates, it would be a little different because, I mean, an actual team setup versus an like a real team setup versus an AI team setup is two different things. One is programmed to play in a certain way. The other one can play however they want to play. But yeah, let's go ahead and go right into the video. So for the first AI companion is going to be Black Widow. Now, for me, Black Widow isn't really the best option. She's probably the worst option to have in the team because she's more of a damage type of AI, and as far as I'm concerned, with a lot of games I've ever played with AI companions, they are better off as support. And the only real support that Black Widow can offer is her stealth ability, which is her support. It's called Veil of the Shadows. So with Veil of Shadows, the only ability or the only perk that she gets that benefits the team is actually going to be the third perk, Mortal Cloak, which grants anyone that's invisible or cloaked or affected by Veil of the Shadows is going to be given or granted 30% crit chance. I mean, you can go with that, or you can end up going with Visus or Visus Obscurum, which allows your team to go invisible, and then if they're not within the radius of her, they can still stay invisible for 5 seconds or 5 extra seconds. And then there's another one where her Veil of Shadows range is increased by 30%. But really, this is the only thing that benefits her team, though. Everything else is mainly just benefiting her. I mean, yeah, she can apply shock damage or she can knock enemies back. She can also apply stun like a lot faster than most people or most AI companions. She cannot be a tank. I mean, she gets 30% damage reduction from that perk and plus 15%, which, giving her 45% damage reduction. But it doesn't mean that she's going to be a tank. Black Widow, from what I've noticed, has gone down a lot more than any other AI companion that I've ever had or that I've used so far because she's generally more of a squishy type of character that's based off of damage because her whole kit is mainly focused around crits and damage. So for me, Black Widow is not good as an AI companion, but she's amazing to have as an actual player using her. Definitely one of the top tier damage dealers in the game. Even probably when the more characters release as well, she'll still probably be on the top tier list. Up next is going to be Kamala, also known as Miss Marvel. So Kamala to me is definitely one of the best, if not the best, support character to have in your team as an AI or even as an actual player because of the fact that she can heal her team. But what's also nice is the fact that she also has this thing called Marvelous Crest. For those of you that don't know where to get Marvelous Crest, you can just do any Elite Vault and you'll end up getting this. But what's nice about the Marvelous Crest is you get two different perks, Mighty Spirit and Proficient Spirit. Mighty Spirit gives you, or not gives you, but allows you to give your team 20% extra damage to all damage dealt. And then, so that's including status effect damage, that's including stun damage, that's melee, that's range, everything is increased by 20%. And then she also gives the Proficient Spirit, which offers 35% crit chance to anyone affected by Team Spirit. So that alone right there is what can also push her to be an even better support character. So another thing about Kamala is what makes her a really, really, really good support character is the fact that she can basically be a damage dealer, crowd controller, tank, and a healer, as well as a buffer because of that Marvelous Crest. So with her healing, what's really nice about her healing is she can self-revive herself, but she can also instantly revive any allies that are down with just her healing ability. Unfortunately, I have a missing skill point, even though I'm level 50, but she also gets Defensive Spirit. So when she activates her healing ability, she's giving anyone that's affected by her heal 20% more defense. So things like armor and resolve, I don't think it affects the resolve like your willpower, but definitely like your armor would be increased by 20%. So that's basically like 20% less damage you're taking, which is really nice. And then obviously she has the inner peace, which in my opinion is the best thing to go for out of these three because of the fact that it's adding 8 seconds on top of, I think it's another 8, I think it's 8 seconds already on the base duration. So you're at a 16-second duration on healing spirit. And the thing about healing spirit is you're getting healed like 20% per tick. And it obviously it doesn't tell you how much you're getting healed. Oh no, 65% additional willpower over a period of several seconds when activating healing spirit. So you're getting healed like 20% of your 20% or 10% per second, which is really, really, really nice. Obviously, like I said, the life spark is what allows her to heal or revive herself. So if you do have her as an AI companion, you could put life spark on her. So if she does go down, she can pick herself up without having anyone to come and rescue her. Or you can have boundless inspiration, which allows her to heal everyone instantly to full health, and then the healing spirit will still kick in because it'll still tick. Without this, it's just healing over time. And then also she has her assault heroic ability, the high five ability. So with this is really, really nice because of the fact that she can push away multiple enemies, including adaptoids and the dreadbots. She can basically push anything off the map, which is really useful. I mean, I haven't really seen the AI companion push anyone off the map, but she does push a lot of enemies away, which is really nice. When you're playing as her, though, it's easier to angle yourself to push enemies off the map if you want to. And then she has her ultimate with Embiggen. Embiggen allows her to basically become an insane super tank. So with this, she can taunt her enemies, or she can get more damage. She can increase the duration every time she kills an enemy, or she can just spawn heroic orbs. So she's basically like another, I guess, a buff bot or heroic orbs bot, whatever you want to call it. And then she can also taunt enemies, or like I said, increase the duration. And then she can also drop regen orbs. So if you really wanted her to drop orbs, you can just have her use both of these. If you wanted her to just taunt enemies to basically be a support tank type of character, you can have her use this. And then obviously in her master, she just has a much larger kit than Black Widow when it comes to support. But again, this is exactly why I think Kamala or Miss Marvel is the best support character to have in a team because she's just built around everything. She knows, or not knows, but this is, I mean, this is just how it is for her. But the only downside about Kamala, which I guess it wouldn't be considered a downside, but is she can only heal her allies when they're critically injured. When I'm playing as Kamala, I'm normally just healing my allies all the time, anytime I have it up, even before a fight, because I'm using Faultless Spark. And this is not a build video, by the way, but I'm just explaining little things. With the Faultless Spark, when you crit, you have a chance to get Heroic Burst. And with that, I mean, you have a high amount of crit chance. You're going to be getting your abilities back. That's why I generally use her healing ability. I use all of her abilities all the time, and because I get it back really quick. So the AI companion can't make use of that because they don't know that's what you're trying to do. The AI companion is built and programmed to heal you when you're critically injured. But aside from that, I mean, Kamala is again hands down the best support character to go with, or you definitely want to have her in your team 100%. Up next is going to be Hulk. So unfortunately, I don't have Hulk at a high power level, and I don't have the right gear for him, so I don't exactly know what perks he can get that support the team, just like Kamala's Marvelous Crest. But as far as I'm concerned, he's got a really, really nice skill set to make him a very viable tank in like, as an ally or an AI companion ally. So just off of where is it? I think it's the support. Yeah, the support heroic ability, Bone Shaker. It taunts your enemies as well as being able to break the guard from the enemies. This makes him a very, very useful tank because I mean, one, he gets a high amount of resistance if you build him to have a high amount of resistance and resolve, and then also he has a lot of different ways of applying gamma to enemies. So for those of you that are not aware of the battery effect, or I guess the hot and cold effects, or positive and negative charge effects, whatever you want to call it. We just call it battery effect. If you're not aware of how that works, then I'm just going to give you a small little gist of how it works. Basically, if Hulk applies gamma, then anyone that's using particles, plasma, or cosmic will do a lot more damage to any of the enemies that are affected by gamma. If you're using shock or cryo, it's not gonna work because those are both their negative effects. But aside from that, I mean, aside from being able to apply gamma literally to everything, because he has a bunch of different AoEs that allows him to affect or to drop gamma and radiate the whole battlefield with gamma. He can also kind of control the battlefield by sucking the enemies in and then pushing them away or running in, grabbing them, and just, I mean, he's a very, 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 very useful tank to have. What does get annoying is if you're playing someone like Black Widow or really any type of ranged character, he kind of gets in the way a lot because of how massive he is, and he kind of just like you end up shooting in the back of him. Yes, you can shoot through your allies, but sometimes you can't really see what you're shooting at with him being in the way. But aside from that, I mean, Hulk is hands down one of the best tanks to have in the group. That's granted, that's if you want to have him as a tank. You can have him as a DPS as well in your team, and he can still put out a lot of damage. Because what's nice about AI companions is they seem to have a lot. It seems like the difficulty of the game isn't really affecting them. Like it seems like they take the same amount of damage that they would on Challenge 1 as they would on Challenge 4. So I think the Resolve, Resilience, those stats don't really apply to them. But what does apply is going to be gear perks. So, but I mean, again, to me, I would love to have Hulk in my team as long as I have him built the way I want him to have him built. But he's not the only character that can tank. Captain America is another character that can actually tank really, really well. So, like I had mentioned earlier, Captain America is a very, very, very good tank. Now, if you're playing as Captain America, obviously he's going to be a very versatile character. You can use him melee, you can use him range. I think a lot of people have been using him as a ranged character, but he's really good support-wise as well. And the reason why is because you have something called Rally Cry. With Rally Cry, you can actually make it to where you mark the enemy. You're going to see like a little star above the enemy's head, like gray star. When you see that star, that means they're taking more. They're able to be able to take more damage. I don't know exactly how much, but I would assume it's like 20% more damage taken because a lot of different sources is a 20% damage debuff to the enemies or damage buff to yourself. And yeah, I mean, Rally Cry is definitely one of the main things you want to have, or you want your cap to be using in your AI team if you're trying to push damage as much as possible on, let's say, a boss in general. If you're just trying to burn the boss really fast, then Rally Cry is obviously something you want your cap to be using, like I said. Now, the Steamroller isn't going to be worried too much. I mean, it's a damage dealing ability. It's not something that's going to be used for like crowd control too much. It can knock down or knock back enemies, but it's generally like smaller enemies. It doesn't push the big enemies away, but it does stagger as well. And then you have Brooklyn Brawler for your AI. It's really nice. I mean, it doesn't really matter for the AI. It's really good for yourself, but with the Brooklyn Brawler, when this is activated, they get healed 25% of their willpower every time they do damage. And I mean, I think you can also taunt when you activate Brooklyn Brawler as well. I'm not exactly sure. I know I saw it somewhere in one of his abilities. He was able to taunt, but it's probably in the mastery. But anyways, I mean, Captain America has a really good kit when it comes to being in the team. He's very good as a tank. He's very good damage-wise, and he's also got a nice debuff to the enemies. So, if you, like I said, if you want to push damage, Captain America is the way to go. All right. So now for Iron Man. Iron Man, to me, wasn't actually that great as an AI companion either, although he is a very top-tier damage dealer for a player. But he is better than Black Widow to have in the team because he still does apply some support buffs for your team. As for example, I think it's the arc reactor ability or arc overload. That's what it's called. This can make it to where you automatically shock your enemies, or he can automatically shock enemies, and it's really nice because it's a full shock debuff on them, making it to where that's already one full status effect. That's a one full negative effect on the enemy. So as long as you use a positive effect on them, you're going to be doing a lot more damage. And not only that, even if you weren't, shock gives you more crit chance on, or it gives you an increase of crit chance to enemies that are shocked. And it's also stuns, not stuns, but staggers the enemies as well, which is really, really, really nice. And also, if you didn't want to just go with Arc Overload, you can actually make it to where he spawns an Arc Field or an Arc Field, which allows him to basically spawn a giant bubble shield. So for those of you that have played games like Destiny 1 and Destiny 2, if you play the Titan, it would spawn a what's it called, like a bubble shield, which is really nice in a lot of cases because it's a giant protective shield. And now with the Assault perk, it's actually really nice too because the Unibeam is really strong. Even for, and the thing about AI companions is they generally have like 100% hit accuracy as well. So it'll be really hard for your AIs to miss. So the Unibeam with the Omega Beam is going to be a very powerful ability for your AI teammate or AI companion to have when it comes to just dishing out damage. And then the ultimate heroic ability is also nice because of the fact that it makes him a very tanky AI. What sucks is anytime the AI companion uses this ability, they tend to only be the one to use it. They don't let anyone else use it. So if I wanted to use the Hulkbuster as Black Widow because I needed some sort of protection, or I just wanted to use it for more damage, and because AI companions play one way and actual players play in a different way, the AI companion is not going to let you use Hulkbuster. They're selfish. They're going to use it themselves. But I mean, for the most part, like Iron Man is not terrible to have in a team, but he's probably not the best when it comes to support, in my opinion. But again, like this is my opinion and my own experience with Iron Man in my AI team. But I have a friend who does play as Iron Man, and it's insane how much damage and how much of a difference it is having him as an actual player in the team versus the AI. So the last one is going to be Thor. Thor, the god of thunder, the god of AoE, status effects, everything in this game. He is an amazing character to have in the team, and the reason why is because, like I said, he does so much AoE damage, he applies so much status effect to the enemies that you're always going to have either a positive or a negative charge effect going on. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at his specialty and his mastery. So, with his specialty, he has the Warrior's Fury. With Warrior's Fury, it buffs your team, or yeah, it buffs your team. If you go with Hell's Anger, it gives you a 25% crit damage and 10% crit chance increase to anyone affected by Warrior's Fury. And if you didn't want that, if you just wanted base damage, or not a base damage, but what is this? The 50% chance to drop a heroic orb. This is insane as well. Now, if you do want the base damage, you would go with Ymir's. I think it's Mir's Wrath. I don't know how to pronounce these, but with this, nearby teammates receive a temporary damage boost of 25% when Warrior's Fury is activated. So as long as your AI companion activates this and you're close by with him, you're going to get a 25% damage increase, which is a lot of damage. Plus, like I said, the 25 crit damage and 10 crit chance. Both of those together makes him already a huge damage bot to have in the team. A huge, huge damage booster, buffer, whatever you want to call it. And then he has his God Blast. So with God Blast, what's really nice is you can have him either run Legend of Asgard, which has a 33% chance of dropping regen packs when he hits an enemy. So this, in a sense, can make him as a healer. Or you can have him run Son of the Elder Gods, which allows him to inflict cryo damage on the enemies. And within the result, it's going to make them slow, and then also applies the negative charge damage. So that way, if you use Plasma or Particle, you'll do more damage because they're affected by cryo. You can also have them go with Thunderstorm, but Thunderstorm seems to be more towards someone actually using him versus the AI companion using him. But with that being said, the AI companion can still use Thunderstorm 3 times or all 3 times, and with this, it inflicts the shock damage on the enemy. And then obviously you have these other three perks. I just go with Overcharge Blast because it allows me to do 20% more damage, because this is what I use when I use Thor. But I think when you're not using Thor and you're using him as an AI companion, you could probably have him use Overexposure, so that way he can inflict 15% more stun damage against shocked enemies. And then what's also nice is the fact that he has Plasma, Cryo, and he can heal. And what's nice about the Alfheim's favor is it's a giant AoE heal. It's not just a small radius, but it's a huge radius, and as long as you're within that radius, you're getting 10% of your willpower back per second. So if you didn't have Kamala on your team, or if you did, and Kamala just wasn't able to heal, Thor can actually drop this as well. Obviously, you can't command when they use their ultimates or anything. They just use it on whenever they want. So you can either have him use this to apply the healing. You can have him apply the Muspelheim's Torment, which afflicts burn damage or plasma damage, which is also really nice because that is also a positive effect. So he can actually use this on top of the cryo, which allows him to do even more damage. Or you can just make him a full-on cryo character or cryo companion, so that way he can always inflict slow on the enemies. This also works against bosses, which is really nice. Cryo on bosses is insane because it makes them slow, obviously. And then, I mean, he has a bunch of other things in his kit that makes him a very, very, very viable companion to have in the team. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, that's pretty much it for Thor. So that's pretty much the end of this video. I know it's kind of a rushed video because it kind of was. I didn't script any of this stuff. A lot of this it just went off the top of my head. But yeah, I mean, I've been asked a lot from a lot of different people what AI companions are the best to have in the team, what characters are the best to use, etc., etc. The one, I'm not going to make a video on what characters the best to use in the game, because obviously it comes down to your own playstyle and what you like to do. Like if you want to do a lot of damage, then you want to choose Thor, Black Widow, or Iron Man. Like those are the three top damage dealing characters. If you want to have the most survivable characters, that's Hulk, Kamala, and Captain America. Those are the three most survivable characters in the game. Um, Obviously all six characters are good in their own way. They can clear the content fast, they can all do damage, they can all do very well depending on how you play. But for the AI companions are programmed, like I said, to do things in a specific way. Unfortunately, we don't have any like AI commands or anything to where we can tell them to use a certain ability or have them focus on a certain enemy, open a door. There's a lot of things that we need AI companions to do, but right now they're just programmed to do things that they kind of are programmed to do. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it with this video. Like I said, all this is based off of my own experience, my own opinion of how all six of them basically perform. Another thing I want to mention is your AI companions do also make use of your perks on your gear. They don't make use of the actual attributes, not that I've noticed, but they do make use of the perks. So, I mean, they probably do make use of the attributes because Kamala was able to use her healing ability a few times in a row because, I mean, her heroic charge probably procced. I'm not 100% sure. But, like I said, I know for a fact that the perks are being used and the skills are being used. So, it would be useful to make sure your AI companions are actually like geared out with the perks you want them to have as a support type character, because in my opinion AI companions are best used for support, whether they're a tank or buffer or healer. Damage dealers not so much, because there's generally like a rotation that you would go with, or there's a certain way you would play as a damage dealer, and AI companions just don't have that type of programming inside them to utilize that type of damage. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Hopefully this helped you guys out. If it did, go ahead and leave a like, comment, subscribe. If you have any questions or concerns, let me know down in the comment section as well. And you can also tell me what your best AI companion or your top AI companion's team setup is, or whatever it is. Yeah, just let me know down in the comment section on who you really like. And yeah, that's pretty much it. This is all Danny, one of the PS4. Have a good day, good night, and peace.